Caitlin Clark is the only woman in basketball to ever sign with Wilson Basketball, and she's the only athlete since Michael Jordan to do so.
If we're comparing a Caitlin Clark signature shoe release to anybody not named Michael Jordan, anybody not named LeBron James, you're being extremely disingenuous.
You won't believe what just came out, basketball fans, and how it will soon destroy Nike's billion-dollar industry. We are discussing a revolutionary change that has Nike execs literally on edge. You are currently the most valuable sports brand in the world, with a valuation of over $200 billion. And you just got what everyone is referring to as women's basketball's Michael Jordan of the future. With Caitlin Clark committed to an 8-year, $28 million contract, you're essentially snatching her for pennies in comparison to her true value. Thinking you have the golden goose that will provide income for the next 10 years. You're sitting well. However, Wilson, of all companies, just released a commercial that is so flawless and emotionally compelling that it is causing Nike's whole marketing team to reevaluate their life decisions.
People were even speculating that. But today was the Nike quarterly call, putting to rest any rumors that A, this wasn't a done deal, and B, there are renegotiations at the table. Something that this did clear up as well, it's looking like Caitlin Clark's shoe was coming in 2026.
The worst part is still to come. Instead of using shoes, they used basketballs. However, the impact is going to alter everything. Let's show you what Nike's current nightmare situation looks like. In recent years, Nike has completely collapsed. We're discussing a business that has seen a value decline of more than $100 billion since 2021. People were actually demanding the dismissal of their CEO because it had become so awful. And you know what? He had to resign. Nike was mired in their own errors, while Adidas was prospering despite terminating their collaboration with Yeezy. Nike's third-quarter revenue is predicted to drop 11.5% to $11 billion. It would be the greatest loss since Nike's 38% decline during the pandemic in the fourth quarter of fiscal 2020, according to data provided by LSG. Nike started an ambitious comeback under Hill. 1 or 2 stylish new styles, however, won't be enough to get the sportswear giant back on track for sales growth, according to Morningstar analyst David Schwartz. In order to increase revenues by billions, it must establish a brand new franchise, similar to a family of items. That takes years, according to Sword. But then Caitlin Clark, the generational genius that only comes along maybe once every 10 years, came to their rescue. In college, the person in question was twice as recognizable as Angel Ree, 4 times as well-liked as the most well-known male athlete. That is completely unheard of in the history of collegiate basketball. Every big brand threw money at her when she became a professional. She was to be the face of the Curry brand, according to Under Armour. She stayed with Nike because of their college marketing efforts, even though Adidas was prepared to break the bank. Everyone was anticipating the release of her hallmark shoe, the one that would permanently alter women's basketball. Here's where it becomes completely bonkers, though. Nike declares that AJ Wilson will receive her trademark shoe first, while everyone else waits for Caitlin's sneaker. A tidbit that should have infuriated every Nike shareholder was concealed within that announcement. According to them, Caitlin's shoe wouldn't be available for purchase until 2026 or possibly 2027.
If we're comparing a Caitlin Clark signature shoe release to anybody not named Michael Jordan, anybody not named LeBron James, you're being extremely disingenuous. Extremely disingenuous. We can't compare abnormality to normal behaviors. We can't compare the extreme case, the rarest of the rare case, to an average Joe Schmo walking down the street singing do-a-dee-dee-dee-dum-dee-dee-doo. We can't be doing that. We only compare Clark to Jordan, Clark to James, Clark to Tiger, Clark to Gretzky, Clark to Ali. That's it.
Do you mean me? For a shoe, 2 to 3 years? This is absurd, let me tell you that. Nike was so desperate to sign LeBron James in 2003 when he was being courted by all the big brands that they began designing his shoe before he had even signed a contract. To keep it under wraps, they adopted the code, name Air Zoom, no bell, LeBron backwards. 3 months from idea to his feed, LeBron wore the LeBron ones for his NBA debut.
When you strip away the noise and the bright lights, it's just the game you loved as a kid.
Chant of defense by the Sparks fans.
Nike changed their timeline from 3 months to 3 years. There is a big problem here that is about to be revealed in the most embarrassing way imaginable. Major newspapers ran headlines wondering why people were upset about Caitlin landing a shoe contract when she signed it. The dispute. Given that Clark had not yet participated in a WNBA game, some fans contended that A.A. Wilson ought to have received her shoe before Clark. Here's the problem, though. Fairness isn't important in business. It's about what generates revenue. In them, Allen Iverson sold more than Tim Duncan. Even though Duncan is the superior player, shoes. Due of low sales, Nike terminated both of their Tim Duncan shoe attempts. And what do you know? Tim Duncan knew business, so he didn't care. However, Tim Duncan is not Aya Wilson. Nike is heavily promoting her through advertisements and billboards. This is where things start to become somewhat awkward. She has said some dubious things regarding white players' privilege. She said that Paige Bucher's success was influenced by her privilege while, almost as an afterthought, acknowledging that she is a talented basketball player.
Black women, Paige reminds me a lot of you. Like, you say you're not really about me. And she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point. And also, like, she's good at basketball, obviously. But, like, she understands her privilege and, like, pushes her over the top in a sense. It reminds me a lot of you.
The Olympic roster for Team USA did not include Caitlin. The formal explanation for why she hasn't earned it yet. When Christian Laettner was added to the 1992 Olympic Dream squad, he had no prior NBA experience. Caitlin Clark, however, is not going to make this one. Diana Taurasi, who had comparable numbers to Clark's when she joined the 2004 Olympic squad, was a rookie in the WNBA. However, 20 years later, Caitlin Clark still falls short. However, as a rookie, she went on to dominate, leading all rookies in several categories, making the first team in the WNBA, finishing 4th in MVP voting, and redefining WNBA viewership hurt all by themselves. While ordinary WNBA games receive 300,000 viewers, games average over 1 million. Her first playoff game ticket was more expensive than all the other WNBA playoff games put together. In order to accommodate the large number of people who came to see her, the Washington Mystics had to relocate to the Wizards Arena. Everywhere she played, she broke attendance records for the WNBA. In the end, even Team USA acknowledged that it was a mistake to leave her off the squad. However, Nike has yet to release their most marketable athlete because they are too afraid. Everything changed when Wilson released their commercial. This commercial isn't your typical one. Nike's latest attempts are compared to Amateur Hour in this masterful display of emotive storytelling. That lovely message opens the commercial. It's just the game you loved as a child when you take away the bright lights and the commotion. Boom. In the fields, exactly. Wilson steps in and perfectly encapsulates the reason we fell in love with basketball in the first place, while Nike is unable to effectively sell their biggest star due to political paralysis. Feed on the hardwood, basketball in hand, motivating you, helping you become the player you want to be, because the ball will always bring you back to your favorite place. The commercial goes on. Composed, determined, and self-assured. This marketing is brilliant. They're not attempting to negotiate cultural politics or sell shoes. They are marketing memories, dreams, and the unadulterated passion for the game. And who is this ideal message's face? Nike is also a player, Caitlin Clark. Afraid to advertise effectively. This is what, however, makes this utterly disastrous for Nike. Caitlin Clark became the only female basketball player to sign with Wilson. And she is the only sports person to have this kind of relationship with them since Michael Jordan. Take a moment to consider that. They are placing her in the same discourse as Michael Jackson. The final sentence of the ad, Caitlin, always basketball, is so flawless that it will torment Nike's marketing team for years to come. Wilson just positioned themselves as the genuine basketball brand that prioritizes the game over all else, while Nike sits on their hands worrying about social media reaction. Additionally, The basketballs themselves are messages rather than merely goods. Wilson's crew studied every aspect of Caitlyn for months, including her interests, favorite color, and what she would be if she weren't a basketball star. They even kept an eye on her dress choices and social media accounts. She's being treated as if she were a rock star. Nike, meanwhile, views her as a political liability. The team started with 50 design concepts and narrowed them down, according to Christopher Rickard, Senior Director of Global Manufacturing at Wilson. The color wasn't always correct. The pattern didn't always work. There were occasions when a brilliant idea didn't quite work out in practice. The reception to the commercial, which debuted alongside a brand new basketball line scheduled for June 23rd, has been nothing short of spectacular. Basketball fans are lauding Wilson for concentrating on the game rather than getting sucked into cultural politics, calling it the best basketball advertisement in years.
Sounds of this interview, it seems like she's probably going to make more money overseas in EuroLeague than she did during this WNBA season. The commissioner told her that she could make $700,000 playing in the WNBA.
Conversely, Nike's silence over their biggest female basketball star is become increasingly deafening. They watch Wilson use basketballs to convey the tale they're too afraid to tell with shoes, creating the ideal marketing campaign with their athlete. This is the result of choosing fear over talent and marketability when making business decisions. Caitlin Clark was signed by Nike for $28 million over 8 years. For someone who has already shown she can make a difference, like no other women's basketball player in history, this is a great deal. However, they're allowing a basketball firm to steal their ideas because they're so terrified of the possible negative reaction. The irony is heartbreaking. Nike's success was based on athletes who were more than just athletics. LeBron James, Tiger Woods, and Michael Jordan. They were more than just outstanding athletes. These cultural factors altered our perspective on sports marketing. That's what Caitlin Clark is made of. However, Nike is too preoccupied with handling internal affairs to see the opportunity. Wilson, however, is sitting on them and can see exactly what they have. With Caitlin Clark, they're doing more than just creating basketballs. They are making a message about being genuine, prioritizing the game, and appreciating excellence regardless of Twitter's opinion. This is the most frightening aspect for Nike. This commercial is flawless marketing, not just good marketing. Without being mired in controversy, it encapsulates everything that makes Caitlin Clark unique. It honors her passion for the game, her genuineness, and her capacity to motivate upcoming players. The level of production value is astounding. When you watch this commercial, you don't think about politics or controversy, but the message is universal and the emotional impact is unmistakable. You consider the reasons for your passion for basketball. That's the power of effective marketing, and Nike ought to have been using their top female basketball player to achieve just that. Rather, they're watching from the sidelines while Wilson demonstrates the process. Both basketball fans and marketing professionals have complimented the ad, which has been viewed millions of times and shared on all social media platforms. Wilson just demonstrated that everything else falls into place when you concentrate on the right things: skill, genuineness, and passion for the game. This alters everything because it reveals Nike's cowardly approach for what it is. They're willing to blow the greatest chance in women's basketball history because they're so scared of upsetting some people. Wilson is establishing a connection with a generational talent that may yield benefits for many years to come. The basketball community is observing and making notes. Other companies will take over and teach Nike how to properly market its athletes if they don't. The first shot, which Wilson just fired, is a flawless bullseye. Wilson is busy creating history while Nike is preoccupied handling politics, so the company had better wake up quickly. And just like in basketball, you have to step up or get stepped on in the economic world. Wilson just demonstrated that they are more adept at the game than the so-called experts, despite the fact that it has altered. Nike's greatest nightmare is about to come true, and this is only the beginning. What are your thoughts on this? Please leave a remark below.